Albert Grande here, PizzaTherapy.com. I've got my old friend Derek Sanchez from Me and Marco's Pizza. Here we are at Pizza Expo. Glad you can make it, Derek.
Thank you, Albert, for having me, man. This is always fun.
I love talking to you. But I want to talk a couple of things about you. You've got a couple of workshops coming up. One is about flowers. You're going to be doing that with our friend John Arena.
Right, so
what are you going to be doing about that?
I'm just going to assist the master. So we're going to go in there, we're going to let John talk. There's always the saying, when someone's really smart in the room, you don't say anything. So, we're just going to go assist him in his talk, and we're going to talk a little bit about enzymes and bacterial formation in dough and stuff like that. So.
Okay. And the other thing, you got a workshop coming up about making New York pizza.
A Texan making New York pizza. So, watch out, right? So it'll be fun, and I think just our twist on New York pizza and what we do is really cool, So you want to take the New York out of New York and bring it to Texas? We try to do that.
Okay. What are you doing now? Also, I don't want to tug on your coat a little bit, but you won the Caputo Cup.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate. So we won a couple of Caputo Cups, and then we won the World Championship last year in Roman Pizza. I'm trying to win every category I haven't won, so we're going to do non-traditional this year, and I think it's the last one I have to go before we got them all. So.
Okay. Tell me about New York style. What are you going to be doing? How's your demo going to go?
Well, I'm going to tell people what we're going to teach them. Then we're going to teach them. We're going to get the crowd involved. We're going to ask them to come on in. We're going to talk about different stuff, kind of just like a big powwow of making pizza, right? So that's how I like to function with people. Personable person, hands-on. I think most pizza people are like that. So.
All right. Well, let's break it down. What kind of flour are you going to use?
We're going to do a little bit of a blend. I think I'm going to do some all-trumpet Americana in my demo. And then I have it fermenting right now. We're going to do a little pre-ferment with it, and we'll see how it goes. So.
Okay. What kind of hydration are you going to use?
We're at 58% hydration on the dough that I just made. We're at about 2.75 on the salt. And on the yeast, we go pretty low because we use a pre-ferment.
Right, okay. And so what do you think are some of the tricks to make a New York style pizza?
Hard work. It's a trick every time. I think you just have to pay attention to all the details. When you're trying to get those kind of outcomes, you have to do everything right and do the best you can to control all the variables that you can. My quest was always to make that really, really good New York style pizza. And another help too is you get around really, really good New York style pizza makers, right? So that really helps a lot too. So.
Okay. And so how about some tips for the home pizza maker? I want to get that in there.
So let your dough ferment, right? Don't ever make a dough that day and bake it that afternoon. Let that thing ferment 24, 48 hours and then bake it. It seems like with the home bakers, that's always the deal. They want to make, we're going to have pizza tonight. They make the dough, and they make it fresh, and then they cook it that night. It tastes real soapy. They get a bad outcome, and they give up on the process. The best thing to do is let this thing ferment, plan a couple of days ahead, and then make your pizza.
Okay. And how about dough stretching? Any tips about that?
Be gentle and a lot of practice, right? Don't throw your dough. Don't throw the dough. Just stretch it, let it do its own thing. Especially when you have a good fermented dough, it'll stretch really easy. It'll work with you really easy. So, don't overdo it. Let this thing kind of make itself. You just get out of its way.
Okay, that sounds great. Those are some great tips. And tell us about Me and Marcos, how people can find you, how they can connect with you.
Sure, we're in Selma, Texas. You can find us on meandmarcos.com. Selma, Texas is northeast of San Antonio, maybe 3 miles northeast of San Antonio. We're in a food truck moving as I speak into a brick and mortar. So we're going to be there going to. We're on Evans and 35 in San Antonio.
Okay. Derek, always a pleasure to talk to you, my friend.
Thank you, Albert.
Good luck in the competition.
Yeah, God bless you guys. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Derek today really illustrates the change that's happened over time with pizza. I've been around for 54 years making pizzas, and I can tell you that when we talk about New York pizza now compared to what New York pizza was in 1967 when I started, we're in a completely different world. The customers know more. The expectation is much higher. The products have become more sophisticated. The dough has become much more sophisticated. and Derek's going to share the science of that with you. How many of you are New York style pizza makers? How long have you been making pizza? 20 years?
Oh wow, cool, man.
So that's a good long time. That's a big investment of time and energy. But the pizza that even 20 years ago, the pizza that you were making 20 years ago is completely different than the pizza that I was making or my parents were making in the early 1960s, late 1950s. So it's important for us to keep, we want to be competitive, it's important for us to keep up with the changes. I hear people all the time talk about how they've got a recipe that haven't changed in 75 years. Well, guess what, folks? The customers have changed in the last 75 years. The knowledge base is much higher in the last 75 years. The expectation is higher. What Derek does with his pizza is in the spirit of what we think of as a classic New York style slice, but much more sophisticated, much more advanced, much more controlled. When I was growing up, we didn't measure or weigh anything. Everything was done by feel. We had no real, we didn't take any temperatures, we didn't check pH balance of water. All that science was no part of what we did. Everything was almost by rote, by instinct. We were taught never to ask questions. You know, in 1961, my Uncle Tony drew a line on a bucket, and he said, that's how much water you use. If anything would have happened to that bucket, we would have been out of business. And when I asked my uncle how much salt we put in the dough, he went like this. I was like, my hand or your hand? And all of that has changed. So Derek is going to talk a lot about the science of producing dough, and that science is going to lead you to a better product. It's going to lead you to better control. It's going to give you control over your business, give you the ability to experiment as well, because we have to keep growing. We have to keep changing. You know, I've been in the pizza business, as I said, for 57 years, 54 years. Derek, how long have you been making pizzas?
Since 2006, but good, probably the past 7-8 years.
Okay, so 7 or 8 years, but I learned something from Derek every time I talk to him. So that being a science nerd is an important part of progress. You know, if you're still doing everything by rote, if you're not weighing your ingredients, if you're not using baker's percentages, if you're not checking times and temperatures, if you're not knowledgeable about the differences in the flour, the difference in the techniques that you're using to get the result that you want, you're basically winging it. You have no control. So today, Derek is going to really make your life a lot easier. It's going to sound like a lot of science at first, but the reality is when you come away from this class, you're going to be able to go back to your pizzeria and envision what you want your pizza to be and make it so. And replicate that over and over again. And that's really what we want to do. We want to have a clear vision of what we want our pizzas to be, and then we want to get to that point. So it starts with that, and then understanding the variables and controlling the variables. And Derek will tell you, document everything.
Everything.
It's a scientific process. So I'm going to stop talking and give you to the guy that really knows what he's talking about.
Little story about myself. I'm a doctor of physical therapy. I'm a spine and joint specialist, and I have a PhD in research in evidence-based medicine. So I was a college professor at one time. I've done a lot of stuff, college professor. Basically, I'm a big nerd, okay? So hopefully I can share some nerd stuff with you guys and progress your pizza or help you with what you're doing now. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and I used to go to a little mall to play video games and eat pizza close to my house. And it was an Italian family from New York that made this pizza. It was called Luca's Pizzeria. And I love this pizza. My family, my mom being from Italy, up north Italy, military family, my dad met her just after the war, would only go there to get pizza. So I had some couple of tragedies happen in my family. I moved away. And the first thing I did when I got my car was drive back to Lucas to get a slice, and they were closed. They closed down. So ever since then, that was when I was about, I guess about 15, 14 and a half, 15 or something like that. I drove early. I had this quest for this flavor profile, this pizza. So I looked everywhere for this pizza. Everywhere I traveled, I looked for this kind of pizza. I ate pizza everywhere I went, right? So I was doing I was teaching some other physical therapists out in West Texas how to do what I do. And everywhere I go, I say, you know, you got good pizza. And they said, hey, you got to go to the Pizza Foundation. And I asked 4 or 5 of my doctor buddies, hey, where do you go? Got to go to the Pizza Foundation. So I went out to the Pizza Foundation in Marfa. Has anybody ever been there? Pizza Foundation in Marfa. It's awesome, isn't it? Are you from the Pizza Foundation? Okay. Yeah, so I'm over there and I go grab a slice and it blew me away. I was like, oh, this is what I've been looking for so long. And this was in 2006. Well, I'm about 7.5 hour away drive from that pizzeria. I'm not exactly gonna get that pizza. So I said, man, I'm gonna make this at home. And my journey started in about 2006. So it went from my house to a garage, food truck, and now we're going into a brick and mortar. So anyhow, we're in the food truck, I'm making pizza. We get a tap on the window one night. Me and Joey were making pizza, and this old man says, hey, give me a slice. And we know it's a pizza guy when they ask for a slice. So we made him a slice. He goes, hey, you boys come outside, I need to talk to you. So we went outside to talk to him, and he said, man, that's the most beautiful pizza I've had in many, many years. That's just, thank you guys. And he actually started tearing up. And he said, my name is Carlo Luca. And I've been looking for this pizza a long time, and so thank y'all for making it. So I told him who I was, and he remembered my dad and all that stuff. It was awesome, man. It was so cool to have that happen. Anyways, that's kind of my journey into New York pizza, and hopefully we can teach you a little bit. Chris not gonna make it. We usually making dough 5:30, 6 in the morning when we're doing it, especially in the summer. We start our dough process much like I talked to you about. We use a pre-ferment, so instead of yeast, we're using a starter. Okay, our starters are usually 12 to 14 hours old. We don't use an old starter, 6 to 12, 135-year-old starter. We don't use that. So we tend to use a fresh starter. We add that to our bowl, water. We treat it just like yeast, flour, mix it, Autolyse 35, 45 minutes. Okay, then we finish the process with salt and oil. It goes to a table. We go through 3 or 4 stretching folds. Right? Then it goes to a bowl ferment to a refrigerator for about an hour to cool it off, and then we pull it out, ball it up, 48 more hours, and then after that it would go to the table. We get it as close to room temperature as we can, and then we're gonna bake them. Something just like that. Is that helpful to you guys? Am I helping anybody? I hope I am, man. I hope you guys will get some stuff, man. So.